Press, look like the Indiana Fever has hired a new player and development coach.
The Indiana Fever just made a huge move for next season, and Fever fans are all trying to figure out what it means for Caitlin Clark and the team. They just hired a new player development coach, and this guy's got serious NBA cred. The timing of this move makes it pretty clear they aren't messing around, and want to fix what went wrong last year. Keith Porter is sticking around even after his injury, but now he's got backup from someone who's been shooting up the NBA coaching ladder super fast. Do you think more player development coaches are actually going to fix the Fever's issues, or is this just for show? Let us know in the comment.
Look like the Indiana Fever is shaking things up. They has hired a new player and development coach. Now, I know the first thing y'all think, what is going on with Keith Porter? Now, if you guys don't know, Keith Porter to his Achilles while at practice, from what I'm hearing. And yeah, man, he's still on the staff. So they're keeping Keith Porter. They're not getting rid of him. And quite frankly, I think this is a smart decision.
Okay, let's break down exactly what happened. The Indiana Fever announced that Rob Dozer is joining the team as a new player development coach, and he'll be working alongside Keith Porter. This is the first move the Fever have made for the upcoming season in terms of roster or staff. And honestly, it tells you they are serious about making some real changes after last season. Making the playoffs for the first time in forever was definitely progress, but getting knocked out in the first round showed there's still a long way to go before this team can really compete for a championship. Rob Dozer is coming to the Fever from the Mad Ants, which is the Indiana Pacers G League affiliate. So he's already part of the Pacers sports and entertainment family that runs both teams. That familiarity probably made the whole transition easier, and it gave the Fever some confidence that he already gets how the organization works.
That Rob Dozer is joining our staff as a player and development coach. Rob will work alongside fellow player and development coach Keith Porter. So as you guys can see here,
now, going from the Mad Ants to the Fever is interesting because it's technically a lateral move, professionally speaking. But honestly, getting to work with Caitlin Clark and being part of the WNBA's biggest story right now has got to be a lot more appealing than developing G League players who might never even make it to the NBA. Either way, Dozer's background is actually pretty impressive when you really look at it. Before he joined the Mad Ants for the 2023-2024 season, he spent 2 years with the Washington Wizards organization. He was a player development manager for the Wizards during the 2021-22 season. And before that, he was a player development coach and assistant for the Capital City Go-Go, which is the Wizards G League team. So, Dozer has NBA experience at basically every level, and that means he knows what elite player development looks like, and he knows how to help athletes reach their full potential. The fact that he has been climbing the NBA coaching ladder so fast tells you he is good at what he does. You don't just go from being a college grad assistant to a G League coach to an NBA organization staff member to another G League head coaching job, unless people in the industry recognize that you've got talent and that you're effective. The Fever didn't just hire some random assistant coach. They got someone who's been building a reputation for player development in professional basketball. That's important because Caitlin Clark and the rest of the team need coaching that really understands the professional game at the highest level. The fact that Keith Porter is staying on the staff even after tearing his Achilles is also pretty significant. There was a lot of talk that the Fever might make some changes to the coaching staff after the way the season ended. But keeping Porter around shows that they really value what he brought to the table. He was key in helping players develop throughout the season, and by all accounts, he did a great job with the roster. The Achilles injury happened at practice, so the timing is awful, but the Fever clearly think it's worth it to keep him around even while he's rehabbing. Adding Dozer just gives Porter someone to share the load with, and it makes sure that the player development side of things doesn't suffer while Porter is recovering. But the timing of this hire is interesting, because it's happening in November, which is super early in the WNBA offseason. Most teams don't make big staff changes until after the new year, once they've had some time to look back at everything from the previous season. The fact that the Fever moved this quickly suggests that they see player development as a major priority that needed to be dealt with right away. They're not waiting around or taking their time. They saw a need. They found someone with the right background and they made the hire. And that's the kind of decisive action that fans want to see from a front office that's trying to build a contender. What this means for Caitlin Clark is worth looking at more closely. She had an incredible season by any measure, but there were definitely some areas where she struggled, especially late in games when she started getting tired and her efficiency went down. So having another player development coach who's focused on helping her fine-tune her game, manage her minutes and energy throughout the season, and develop counters for how defenses are attacking her could make a huge difference. Dozer's NBA experience means he's seen the best players in the world working on their game, and he can bring that knowledge to help Caitlin take the next step in her development. But this isn't just about Caitlin. The whole roster needs development work. Aliyah Boston had a great season, but she needs to keep improving her offensive game and become more assertive. Kelsey Mitchell is a veteran scorer, but she could still benefit from refining some parts of her game. Melissa Smith showed flashes of brilliance, but she was inconsistent. Lexi Hull needs to add more to her offensive game than just shooting threes. Every single player on that roster has areas where they can improve, and having 2 dedicated player development coaches means there's more time to work individually with each player. The fact that Dozer specializes in player development instead of just being a general assistant coach is important. This is someone whose only job is to help players get better through skill work, film study, and individual attention. He's not managing the game strategy or handling rotations. He's going to be in the gym working on specific skills with specific players to help them improve in certain areas. That kind of specialization is super valuable because it means that players are getting expert level coaching on the technical parts of their game instead of just general coaching. His time with the Washington Wizards is also relevant because the Wizards, even though they've struggled as a team, have been pretty successful at developing individual players. They've taken draft picks and turned them into productive NBA players through their development program. And that's the kind of track record you want from someone in this role. It's not about winning championships as an organization. It's about taking players who have potential and helping them reach that potential through smart, focused development work. The G League experience is also really valuable because the G League is basically a lab for player development. The whole point of that league is to develop players who can eventually play in the NBA. Coaches in the G League are always working on skill development, trying out new training techniques, and figuring out what works to help players improve. And that kind of mindset and experience is exactly what the Fever need as they try to develop their roster into a championship caliber team. The fact that this hire is getting so much attention and discussion just shows how invested Fever fans are in the team's success. People actually care about coaching staff additions now because they know that good coaching and a solid development program are key to winning. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have coaches who can help that talent grow and reach its potential, you're not going to get anywhere. The Fever have realized that, and they're investing in building out their staff. The social media response to this announcement has been mostly positive. A lot of fans are saying they're optimistic that the Fever are being proactive about fixing their weaknesses. People recognize that last season, while it was successful in some ways, showed some limitations in how the team was built and coached. Making changes to fix those limitations shows that the front office is paying attention and willing to change, instead of just doing the same thing and hoping for different results. But here's the thing, this is probably just the first move. The offseason is long, and the Fever are probably going to make even more changes to the roster and maybe even the coaching staff. Free agency, trades, and the draft all give them chances to upgrade the team, but starting with improvements to their infrastructure, like adding another player development coach, shows that they know what's important. Get the foundation right first, then add talent on top of that. That's how you build long-term success, instead of just hoping that everything clicks. The connection to the Pacers organization through the Mad Ants is also worth mentioning because it means there's a chance for knowledge sharing and teamwork. The Pacers have been pretty successful at developing players, and having someone on the Fever staff who understands how the Pacers system works could help them share ideas and best practices. Since both organizations are owned by the same people, it makes sense to use that connection to help both teams get better. For Caitlin Clark, having coaches who've worked in the NBA means they can help her understand what the next level of her game looks like. They've seen the best point guards in the world up close. They know the difference between good players and great players, and between great players and superstars. That perspective is super valuable for someone like Caitlin, who's already amazing, but still has room to grow. Having coaches who can show her film of how NBA point guards handle certain situations or solve certain problems gives her a plan for her own development. The Fever's willingness to invest in coaching also tells Caitlin and the rest of the team that the organization is serious about winning. Players notice when teams are cutting corners or not giving them the resources they need, but they also notice when teams are doing everything they can to create an environment where they can succeed. Adding another player development coach with NBA experience shows that the Fever aren't happy with just making the playoffs. They want to compete for championships, and they're building the structure to make that possible. The timing of this move relative to Caitlyn's offseason is also interesting. She's probably working on her game right now, recovering from last season, and getting ready for the next one. Having the new coaching staff in place this early means they can potentially start working with her sooner, instead of waiting until training camp. That extra time to build relationships and put development plans in place could really pay off when the season starts. This hire also shows how professional basketball is changing, with player development becoming more and more specialized and advanced. Teams are putting more money into skill development, sports science, and personalized training programs because they know that even small improvements in individual players can lead to big team success over the course of a season. The Fever are following that trend by building out their development staff with qualified people who can help them get the most out of their roster. The Indiana Fever just made their first move of the offseason by bringing in Rob Dozer to the player development staff, and it shows that they're serious about building a championship-level team around Caitlin Clark and everyone else. This is how teams get better. They invest in coaching and development even before the season starts. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe because we're going to be tracking every move the Fever make as they try to turn their potential into championships.